The day you were born, I promised myself that I'd prepare you for the world. Emmett Till, what a fine young man you're becoming.
I'm heading back down to Mississippi next week. You're welcome to join us.
Can I?
You behave yourself.
And don't worry, I'm gonna be just fine. And if I can find my cufflinks, I'm gonna look sharp doing it. One round trip ticket to Winona, Mississippi.
Remember, that place is not
Like Chicago, white folks are gonna treat you different now.
Goodbye!
Boy, you crazy?
We want that boy from Chicago. Come on. Now!
I don't know how to tell you this. Some men, they came and got Emmett last night.
The whole city is praying for you and your boy.
I want a public wake. Open casket. People need to know what they did. It's working. It's gonna be a triumph.
They're threatening to kill her if she goes down there.
I want to become that brave woman. One mother can make a difference. The death of my son has shown me that whatever happens to any of us, anywhere in the world, had better be the business of all of us.
Greetings, cousins. I'm Naomi Davis, proud granddaughter of Mississippi sharecroppers who, like 7 million others, voted with their feet and moved up south for freedom and economic opportunity in what is now known as the Great Migration. Welcome tonight to our first broadcast from the Green Economy Academy here at the Green Living Room in Woodlawn, Chicago. I am the founder and the CEO of Blacks in Green. We are the authors and the teachers of the 8 principles of green village building, the 12 propositions of Grannynomics, and yes, that's the granny of mine I'm talking about, and the Sustainable Square Mile Handbook, where we are reinventing that walk to work, walk to shop, walk to learn, walk to play village, where African American people own the property, own the businesses, and live the conservation lifestyle. So thank you for coming tonight. You are here with us live from the media studios at the Green Living Room on the Cottage Grove Cultural Corridor in the Obama Presidential District of the world-renowned Black Metropolis National Heritage Area, otherwise known as Bronzeville, USA. And our headquarters sits at the southernmost tip of the Black Belt. Google it and you'll understand why they call it that. But don't let my joy fool you tonight. We are the proud stewards of the Emmett and Mamie Till Mobley home at 6427 South St. Lawrence in West Woodlawn, historic West Woodlawn, a Great Migration legacy community. And while we are deeply inside of our heart for the Say My Name, Emmett Till story, according to the residents and the stewards and the family of this place, we are proud, sad, hopeful, committed to justice, committed to forgiveness, and committed to healing. And proud to introduce to you tonight a team of colleagues who will be working within this pre-show hour from 6 to 7 this week, January 6th, next week, January 13th, and the third week of the series on January 20th. That's those 3 Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. with pre-programming programming. And so tonight we are featuring Iman Ali. We are featuring Dr. Constance Shabazz. We are also bringing to you some of the key members of the scene, the situation, the horror, the atrocity. And we are going to be closing tonight with an introduction to the documentary that follows. So here's our schedule. From 6 to 7, we are here live from the Green Economy Academy. From 7 to 9, we are with ABC in the Women of the Movement film. And from 9 to 10, we are with Let the World See, the post-show documentary. All of those ABC programs co-produced by Jay-Z, Will Smith, and others for the education of the generations. And let me now bring on Iman Ali.
Thank you so much, Naomi, Blacks in Green, my fellow panelists that are going to be here with us tonight from the Emmett Till family. We have Ali, Gordon, Dr. Constance Shabazz from the Salam Community Wellness Center. We have a very special guest who was a part of that team down in Mississippi of Dr. T.R.M. Howard, who was the man that you all will learn a lot about during the series. If it was not for Mr. T.R.M. Howard, Dr. T.R.M. Howard, we would not know Emmett Till's story. We'll let Mr. Johnson tell you more about that. And we're really excited to be here. Thank you so much, Naomi, for agreeing to co-produce this with myself as I thought about how we would like to present our information and our content, as I am a daughter of the Delta of Mississippi as well, that great migration that you spoke about, Naomi, and moved into the Chicago area when I was 2 years old with my teenage mother. And so Emmett Till's story has always been in the backdrop because we are from the area that is just about maybe 30 minutes from Money, Mississippi. And so it has always been a haunting reality in the back of our minds as we thought about the horror of what happened to Emmett in Mississippi, in the Delta of Mississippi. And so my name is Iman Ali, and I had the pleasure of meeting Mamie Till in 2001 as a news producer there in Chicago for Black History Month. We were scheduled to do a Black History Month broadcast for CLTV in Chicago. And I thought that, I was just going to call her and maybe set up an interview. And I kind of was nervous there to even speak to her because I wondered what would I say to her, and was hoping she would not be at home and maybe I would get a voicemail. But she was there, fortunate enough for me that she was there, and she did take my call. And what I thought was going to be a 2-minute or 5-minute conversation, just setting it up the interview, turned out to be about an hour and a half conversation with Mamie Till. She was very deliberate about the fight for justice for Emmett. She was very deliberate about the continuation of that from my generation, as she found out that I was from the Delta. She was very warm and very instructional as to what she felt my role would be as a journalist there in Chicago, and particularly a Black female journalist from Mississippi. And so we had an amazing time there talking with her, and I never forgot that. Years later, that was 2001, and 2014, I happened to have met a family member of hers, a cousin by the name of Deborah Watts, down in Atlanta. And meeting Deborah Watts, we got to know each other immediately, and I said I wanted to help with the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, and immediately became a ambassador for Emmett Till's legacy. And 2 months later, irony, or maybe divine order, as we would say, 2 months later, I met another family member from the Carthen side, which is the Carthens are Mamie's mother's side. And I met another one of Emmett's family members on the set of the James Brown biopic with Chadwick Boseman. And the two of us, I said, wow, I just met another one of your family members. And they didn't know each other. And so we got together that year, later on that year in 2015, at the museum there for Emmett's birthday. And the three of us were standing there in 2015 in July. And I said, you know, we are Sisters of the Movement. And there needs to be a TV show about the work that you're doing around Emmett Till, the work that we're doing around social justice with hip hop. And I just made that statement, and we started a podcast called Sisters of the Movement at the time. And then the Me Too movement hit, and then Black Lives Matter. And we said, well, maybe it's not the right time. 5 years later, I get a call from the Carthen side, and she said, you know, you won't believe this, but there is a film being done, or a TV series being shot here in Mississippi, and it's called Women of the Movement, and it's about Emmett Till. And I want to preference that, you know, I've worked in the entertainment industry for more than a decade, working with some of the biggest names in hip hop, from Russell Simmons to Snoop Dogg to Kanye West to Ice Cube. And so I've worked with those artists around social justice and around the ways that we communicated with the community. How do we give back to the community? And so everything that I had done and dedicated my life to was around that. And so I had not worked with Jay-Z yet. And so that same year that I met Deborah Watts, I had 7 dreams with Jay-Z in it, and the same reoccurring dream. And he would ask me, so what do you want to do? So what do you want to do? So how do you want to work together? And we would always be backstage or something like, and I'm like, this is the same dream coming constantly. And so when Ms. Carthen called me, she said, and you won't believe this, it's about Mamie and Emmett, and it's in Mississippi, and it's called Women of the Movement, and Jay-Z is producing it. I said, oh my goodness, that's too many so-called coincidences. And so I reached out. She gave me the director's, casting director's information, and I reached out. I said, I have to be a part of this some kind of way. And I didn't care what that was, because I knew that that was a divine assignment there, because it doesn't happen like that. With all of those quote unquote coincidences. And so I reached out, and within 2 minutes, I got a response back. And they asked for an interview with me. And I'm like, wow, well, that's interesting. So I interviewed, and they said, well, we want you to play the role of a stand-in as Mamie Till. And she said, do you know what the stand-in is? I said, no, I don't. And she said, well, a stand-in works alongside the principal actors, and you're there as Mamie Till on set along with our lead actress. So you help to set up all rehearsals, lighting, sound. So it's team 1 and team 2. So she'll be team 1 and you'll be team 2. And I did not say yes right away, because I knew that that was a huge role to step into, and a huge energy to step into, to step into the energy of Mamie Till and what happened to Emmett. And so I said, let me think about that. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, you need to do that. And so that's how I got on to Women of the Movement. That's the backdrop of that story in working there. But I realized that was a spiritual assignment. And I realized my role as an integrative therapist. I'm a Reiki master teacher, and Reiki is an energy-based therapy that works with the energy centers, helping to rebalance those. Everything is energy, and we as a people have not really understood our bodies. We haven't been taught properly of what that is and how our bodies work. At an atom, basic building block of all living things is about 99.9999999% energy, and it's only 0.0001% physical matter. So if that's the case, and an atom is the basic building block, then that means we're more energy than we are physical matter. And it means we're more spirit or energy than we are physical matter. And so when you think about energy, we know that energy is neither created nor destroyed. And so when you think about spirit, you think about spirit transfers and energy transferring into different vessels, okay? And so sometimes when we step into a space, especially when you're doing a film or a movie, or you're moving back in time, you're stepping back in time and you're stepping into the energy of that time and the energy of that character, okay? And all that happens with them, so which can be very traumatic depending on what the subject matter is. And so I took that very seriously, and I realized that as a healer working in the field of integrative medicine, that I have a responsibility here to do what? To try to heal this storyline. And so it's going in, I had to prepare myself mentally and physically and emotionally and spiritually, and gird up to even go into a Mississippi to reenact 1955. And it wasn't so hard to do, because much of the energy, if you've not been to the Delta of Mississippi, as you know, Naomi, it's quite a unique place. And if you visit back today, many of those areas still hold the same frequency and the same energy of a 1955. And so it wasn't hard to get into character being there, not even for, and it's something we joked about on set, that it wasn't hard to get into character being there in that environment. In fact, the barn that Emmett was killed in is still up. And so we couldn't shoot there because the energy was so horrific that they just recreated it. And so all of this was happening, on set there in Mississippi. And my first day on set was giving birth to Emmett. And that was an emotional thing, as we're in there acting as, you're giving birth to them, and they bring this little doll in for me. But before Adrian comes on, and I just want to say big ups to Adrian Warren, Tony Award winner Adrian Warren. It was an honor to work with such a great talent, and she really, really captures the spirit of Mamie, her determination. You'll see that through tonight as you'll understand that it wasn't an emotional decision that Mamie did to bring Emmett's body to Chicago and to open that casket. It was very strategic. And you're going to have a lot of respect for Mamie Till after tonight as you see that. And so, the first, day on set, giving birth to Emmett, that was pretty traumatic, because there were problems with even his birth. And so it wasn't a regular birth, it was a breech birth. And so, that had a lot of energy on it as we, got ready to, do all of that. I think that I found out about Miss Dr. Constance Shabazz, who will be on with us shortly. And I found out about the Salam Community Wellness Center. And I also found out about the Till Mobley House Museum, all at the same time while I was on set. It was very interesting. And I thought immediately when I found out what you were doing in Chicago, Naomi, was that there was a synergy here, and that me being in the position that I was in, that I should try to see if we could, make a connection between the house that we created in Mississippi and that recreated in Mississippi, and the Till home there in Chicago. And so I began working on that way before you and I actually met back in July of last year. So being there and working with, so you're seeing some of that and that recreation. So it was really amazing to see that, how they really captured Chicago in Greenwood, Mississippi. It was amazing. And so you'll get to see some of that, and we'll have a very special announcement about that as we continue through our series of talks around women of the movement. The healing of that trauma, is a very serious thing. And it is something that I'm committed to. It's my work, but in particular with hip hop and Black men and Black women, there is a trail of blood and trauma that leads out of the city of the Delta of Mississippi and leads into the city of Chicago. And I believe that most of the violence that we are seeing is a direct result of that generational trauma that still is there. And there's no more traumatic story than the story of Emmett Till and what happened to him, the little boy from Chicago, as they still say down there in the South, about what happened to Emmett. And so we were filming under some very stressful times as COVID-19 was rearing up. And we also were filming during a time of great race relations in America. So it was like you were time traveling, but you also were in the present time, and time was kind of, and history was repeating itself as we were filming this last January, February, and March, and into April. The trauma and healing that. The night that we shot, the night that they took Emmett, I wasn't supposed to be on that set that night because, of course, I was on as Mamie's stand-in. So I was off that day, but that night before, they asked me to stand in for Elizabeth Wright. And I was wondering, well, who's Elizabeth Wright? So as I looked it up, I realized that was Emmett's aunt, and this was going to be a scene that was shot at the house of Mo Wright, and went there that day at 2 p.m. on an old plantation. And I don't know if we have any of the video up. If we do, you can play that, and I'll stop. But we were shooting that night at 2 p.m. on an old plantation, and normally our days were 12-hour days, and so we shot from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. But I wasn't realizing what was happening until I realized we were going to be shooting at night. So I'm like, okay, this must be the scene that was when they took Emmett from the home. And so that night, I brought out my crystal bowls, my singing bowls, which are sound therapy. I brought out my Native American, what we call a rain stick. And the indigenous people believe that those rain sticks help to waken the spirits. And I brought that out, and I brought out my crystals, and I began in a shed that was right opposite of the house where Emmett was staying for the summer. I was in a farm shed. And when I went into that farm shed, I wish we had those images and that video. When I went into that farm shed, I discovered a Native American totem pole. And so I set up there and began playing. Once nighttime fell, the winds picked up on that plantation like it was going to be a hurricane. And so I started playing as we began filming. And I remember that night that even the man and the actor who played Rory Bryant, he came up to me and he thanked me for what I was doing to help calm and bring some sense of normality to a very tough scene. He said, "I'm Roy Bryant. I'm playing the bad guy tonight." He said, "But, I'm nothing like him." And so it was a tough scene. And we had psychologists on board, therapists on board. I was doing my work as well as all of this was going on, and just seeing the truck that they kidnapped Emmett in speed off. It sped off into the night, and we had to do that scene over and over again. That was a trauma. That was really like reenacting that and really feeling what Emmett might have been feeling during that time. There were 3 people in that car. You're going to see that as well. And there was a woman in the back seat of the car, which we now know as Carolyn Bryant. So now I end up meeting Dr. Shabazz a little bit later on in the summer. And I thought, as I talked to her about the Salam Community Wellness Center and realized that that was in Emmett Till's neighborhood, I said, I want to be a part of that. I know what it is to be a part of integrative medicine, as I've worked with Northwestern Feinberg School of Medicine for the Osher Center for Integrative Medicine as a research assistant there. And I said to Miss Dr. Shabazz, I said, I was just a part of this series with Emmett Till, and I really see this as a part of the entire healing that needs to happen in the city of Chicago for all of our people. And I want to be a part of this. I think there's a connection here as we heal this generational trauma. Is Dr. Shabazz on? I want to bring her on and talk about the work and also her connection to Mamie Till, which I found out during our conversation together, which was amazing. Is Dr. Shabazz on? Dr. Shabazz, are you there? So I think Dr. Shabazz is trying to get on. If she comes on, then we will continue with her. But the work that's being done, basically a few blocks over from the Till Mobley House Museum, which is where Naomi is working to preserve the history and the spirit of Mamie and also of Emmett Till. There's the Salam Community Wellness Center. On Emmett's 80th birthday, they were commemorating the naming of Emmett's home there as a historic landmark there in Chicago. And the same day, 3 blocks over, was the Salam Community Wellness Center's grand opening. So I thought that was just such an amazing synergy. And I feel really good about that was, that's God's movement of being able to heal that trauma there in that side of the city in Woodlawn. We're also just a few blocks over from the O Block. And in hip hop, we know that the recent deaths of King Von and Duck in that area has traumatized those young people there. And that whole situation that's still ongoing inside of the Woodlawn area. That blood still spilling out into the streets in the city of Chicago, but it's that black on black self-hate that was taught to us down there in the Delta of Mississippi and other spaces like that. So Dr. Shabazz is leading a team of very talented doctors, MDs, Chinese medicine, energy medicine. I'll be coming on to work with her, and mind-body medicine, as well as a nutritionalist, as well as an acupuncturist, as well as internal medicine. So we will be working in 4 categories there in Emmett Till's neighborhood. We will be working on addiction. We will be working with mental health, which we know is ravishing our communities. And we'll be also working with nutrition and primary health care there at the Salam Community Wellness Center. So a top-notch facility that is Black owned and Black funded. And so we know that no one's coming to save us. And so we have to, just like we're doing now with Jay-Z and Emmett and Will Smith telling Emmett's story again, to have 2 Black men who had enough consciousness to be able to tell the story of Emmett Till. That has been is something to applaud, and we have a habit in our community of sort of criticizing a lot, but the fact that these young Black men who grew up from hip hop, Will Smith and Jay-Z, being able to tell Emmett Till's story, having enough money, number 1, to do it, and then having enough consciousness, number 2, to do his story is quite something to herald. So we're just going to do our part in helping to fill in where we can in helping to tell that story, because his story and Mamie's story, it's all of our stories.
And may I say,
that.
Yeah, beautiful. This is God's work, obviously, that we're all connecting in this way. And we couldn't have scripted it better if we had tried. Wanting to contextualize, and as Iman Ali talks about her work as a Reiki master teacher, and the Shabazz and Dr. Constance Shabazz and the Wellness Center, I want to ground you. I want to contextualize for you where we are. Again, historic West Woodlawn, the southernmost tip of the Black Belt, Chicago's first Black middle class neighborhood, populated by the Great Migration comers between the Great Migration period of 1916 through 1970. We are a stronghold with a contingent of our West Woodlawn community elders who are in the community, who are remembering the story, who we will be mobilizing. Iman mentioned that we have had Blacks and Green as owners and stewards of the Emmett and Mamie Till House Museum. We are bridging the gap to the generations. When we talk about Emmett Till, say his name, we are, of course, echoing a chant that has become all too familiar in recent days. And how are we telling the story forward to our young generations of now? How are we bringing our young people from West Woodlawn and beyond, from Chicago and beyond, from America and beyond, into the understanding of self-actualization? And where healing is concerned, understanding it's really the ground zero of all that follows. And so here in historic West Woodlawn, we are proud to say that our stewardship at Blacks and Green did not begin in October 6, 2020, when we purchased the Emmett and Mamie Till home. It began in 2010 and before, when we landed here and set up our headquarters here and began doing our 8 principles of green village building and began doing our walkable village, walk to work, walk to shop, walk to learn, walk to play, sustainable square mile work here, we were clear long before the Obama Presidential Center, though we love us some Obamas, we were clear long before they appeared on the radar that we had an asset, we had a story, we were great migration people. We had a legacy that we needed to bring forward. My mom was born 13 miles as the crow flies from Money, Mississippi, where Emmett was murdered. And I was born the day before he was killed. We have been brought up in my family to cherish and enshrine and advance the stories and the teachings and the learnings of that great migration tragedy. And yet, to also exalt the greatness of the people, the courage, the love, the discipline, the work ethic, the genius that typified that great migration contribution to great American cities across this nation. And so here in West Woodlawn, where again 6427 South St. Lawrence, we are building the Till House Museum. Next door, we are building a community theater based in the understanding of the power of theater to change hearts and minds. We are working with Iman Ali and her entire coterie of creative professionals to bring the message down into the ground level, age-wise across the generations, but focusing on the children, and also looking at what are the various modalities, communication modalities we can use. Hip hop and theater are two that we're absolutely committed to sharing. So I want to ask you, Iman, when we talk about the Shabazz and Center, and we talk about healing, how are you seeing and working toward connecting the dots between hip hop, between justice and the Legacy Foundation in Mississippi, between the trials of today, and between that and the narrative of triumph that we are building for great migration comers and their children? What do you see there?
Yes, thank you for that. There's a huge synergy, and there's a unique nexus that we are at we have our pulse on when it comes to culture, and when it comes to education, when it comes to even healing. It was 2004 when we decided to use hip hop as a catalyst for social change with Russell Simmons. And I organized that first voter registration hip hop summit in Chicago to bring young people out to vote, to just get them to register. And it was me that introduced Barack Obama at that time, who was our Illinois senator, to the hip hop community there in Chicago, and they did not know him at all. And so we have a history of being able to connect the dots here. And with Emmett's story being told tonight by the funding of 2 Black men, Jay-Z and Will Smith, and they're having enough consciousness to do this and enough money, okay, because it does take money to make these things happen, and having enough money to be able to do this. Now, what do we do with that? So my whole piece was, even on set, I was thinking, and when I saw what you were doing in Chicago, I said, let's get some synergy going here so that we can continue Emmett's story beyond what happens in the next 3 weeks, okay? Because that's important. But how do we engage hip hop even more? Because we know that every era of change has had its music. We had Sam Cooke and Change Gonna Come. We had Marvin Gaye, What's Going On. We had James Brown, I'm Black and I'm Proud. I mean, James Brown began his social political activism in Mississippi after James Meredith was shot in the March Against Fear. Okay. And so, but where are our young people who have all of this influence, who can sell cars and Courvoisier and Cristal and can sell Tiffany diamonds? But where are we when it comes to what's happening in our communities? We have not heard from the hip hop community like we should hear. And
like we used to hear back in the day, fight the power.
Very good observation, Naomi, because there was a concerted effort to stop that. When the Rodney King riots happened, it was F the police. It was all of those things that were moving. That was James Brown, Funky Drummer, being played in the background. It was Fight the Power by Public Enemy. So that was strategically done to take hip hop in a different direction. But it's up to us to bring it back. And so one of the things that what I have done is I have reached for my colleagues that are in the entertainment industry who are hip hop artists. And we are putting together a compilation album called The Ghost of Emmett Till that still haunts America today, because until justice is done, until there's some type of reckoning, this young man's spirit keeps showing up. This young man's spirit keeps coming up, because the spirit is not at rest when justice does not prevail. And the other thing, I left the Emmett Till Women of the Movement set to go back down to Georgia to be with Ahmaud Arbery and Ahmaud Arbery's family on the anniversary of his death. That family, we were able to take a yoga studio out into the community. As you can see, on the ground is Marcus Arbery. I'm doing a sound healing for this family. They had never been on a yoga mat. They had never heard of anything like this. I had the gong there that works with the parasympathetic nervous system, placing them back at a state of calm. They didn't know what was going to happen, but every single one of them. And I was so happy that Marcus made sure that he came back to have that session, because it was important to me to heal him as a Black male. You know, we've seen his mom and we've seen them make a concerted effort to say that the Black father wasn't there for his son, but he was there to receive that healing and that line of energy that says that, you know, to be a Black man. Ahmaud was killed while jogging. He was not killed by in a act of violence that he was doing. He was jogging. So health and wellness, a Black man can't jog in Brunswick, in the Golden Isles, as a very prestigious area, actually. But so it was important for me to be there with them and to send word to them from the Till family, from Miss Deborah Watts, who sent word back to them. And they were so emotional about that.
And may I say, that we are blessed this evening with the family member, Ollie Gordon, a cousin of Mamie and Emmett. And we are interested in hearing from, as we're connecting these dots, we have Mr. Johnson with us this evening that we'd like to bring on. And we would like to introduce the context again as we begin to knit this new narrative, our story from our perspective in these times, that we are honoring our elders. We are taking first person narrative. We are introducing our young people to the feelings and to the power associated with transformation. And we are building something that cannot even be foretold. And as we are moving into this last segment tonight, and again, everybody, from 7 to 9 Central Standard Time, we'll be watching the Women of the Movement in which Iman Ali provided stand-in services for the Mamie Till character, and where we will then be following from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time with a documentary, which is, among others, featuring our own Ollie Gordon. Ollie is family to us, if she'll let us claim her that way. We have her
Yes.
out at every event that we ever have here in West Woodlawn. And I want to say, since 2010, we've been doing walking tours and bus tours, and we have been introducing students and marketing literature about the Great Migration legacy and the Emmett and Mamie Till home. So again, this is not something that we just began. We have a tourism company, Big Treasure Tours, that will be offering tours for real in our own bus this year. And again, community performance for healing and for economic development. But before we move on and before we close tonight, I'd love to hear, Iman, your introduction of Herman Johnson. And Mr. Johnson, if you would please share with us the wisdom of the witness that you bring to us tonight. Again, first person narrative.
Thank you. Absolutely. Mr. Herman Johnson Sr. It's such an honor to have him on. Mr. Herman is about 90 years young, and he is so sharp. And he's coming to us from Mount Bayou, Mississippi. And Mount Bayou has a significant role in the whole civil rights movement, but a particular significant role in Emmett's story. Mr. Johnson worked for a doctor by the name of T.R.M. Howard. And I don't want to give that away, but I want Mr. Johnson to give us the history of Dr. Howard and you working for him, and also why, if it was not for him, we would not have known Emmett Till today. Mr. Johnson.
I would let me just say by starting off by this. As much as we hear now about Emmett Till, we would not have heard about him if it had not been for Dr. Howard. But let me just say, the reason I know Dr. Howard is because when I finished University of Southern University of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, my director asked me, she knew I was coming to Mount Bayou. She said, go by and see Dr. Howard. I went by to see Dr. Howard, and he gave me the job that he had just sent Medgar Evers to Jackson State as a field director. That's the way I got to know Dr. Howard. But then I worked for him with Magnolia Mutual Life Insurance Company for a couple of years. But I was involved with him during the time that Emmett Till was assassinated or was killed. But it's interesting that we would not have heard about that about Emmett Till. It's just been another black boy put in the river, except that when the sheriff in Glendora told Dr. Howard, told the undertaker who had the body to bury him, and he was getting ready to bury him. Dr. Howard, as I understand it, called Dawson in the Chicago and had him to call the sheriff in Chicago to call the sheriff in Glendora to not to bury that boy, to keep him out. So that's when Mamie Till, I understand, was able to say, I want the whole world to see how they treated my boy, so that the body was exposed in the film. I'm making it short like that, but I just wanted to share that information as much as I know about it. And just let me say that Mamie Till, when she came here, I did some driving for Dr. Howard, but he had different drivers and different times for different reasons. But Mamie Till had relatives here in Mount Balliol, but she was secretly brought into Mount Balliol and was secretly carried to the hearing of her son.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for that history, Mr. Johnson. And we're looking at a photo of you and your desk as you took over for Medgar Evers at the insurance company that Dr. Howard owned.
Right.
You came in right after Medgar Evers actually left and took his desk. That's actually, you guys shared the same desk there. And so we're looking at a picture of Medgar Evers and then also of Mr. Johnson on the right, and behind, of course, that is the famous picture of Mamie Till, and the man standing in the bow tie with him is Dr. T.R.M. Howard. And he was quite a professional and quite a man of reckoning there in the South, where he had to flee from Mississippi into Chicago because he was just too powerful, too black, and too strong at that time to stay on down there. And you'll see him in Women of the Movement as we definitely shoot a scene there as well. The Ahmaud Arbery, can we see that video that we have of Ahmaud and Ahmaud's aunt? Do we have that? And if we do not have that, we will continue. But thank you, Mr. Howard's former employee and great friend, Mr. Herman Johnson Sr., for your contribution to this storyline. We're so grateful to you. And we're doing that, passing generational lines and lineage here, because it's so important to hear from a first-hand account of someone who was there during that time. And thank you for your sacrifice. What we're also doing, and you're also a part of the Mount Bayou Museum there, and we have some special announcements about that and what we're going to do. Naomi, are you back on with us?
Yes, I
There you
am.
are.
And welcoming back Ollie Gordon, whom we really want folks to understand, again, the historical context. Ollie, if you would join us, please. We met Ollie just several years ago and have included Ollie in our Mamie Till Forgiveness Garden ceremonies, our Emmett Till 80th birthday celebration. She's been invited to our family tree October 31st celebration, where we put in 36 trees on what we're calling the Emmett and Mamie Way, which is otherwise known as St. Lawrence. And we here in West Woodlawn, and we are committed that as we celebrated Mamie's 100th birthday here at the Green Living Room on November 21st, we're committed to keeping these community programs free, open to the public, and determined to keep the legacy alive. We must, before people pass into ancestor, bring the live testimony of those who have been on the ground, face to face, with the actors that we are consecrating now. Ollie Gordon, you say what?
Yes.
I say, first of all, let me thank each and every one of you for the work that you're doing and for the honor that you are bestowing upon my family. It's most appreciated. I love what I see, and I intend to continue to support and be a part of it. As you speak about the Great Migration, I was born in Drew, Mississippi, and my grandmother helped my family migrate from Mississippi to Chicago, and that's where we landed at 6427 South St. Lawrence. Yeah, so I lived there from the time I was 2 until I was probably 9 or 10. We were living there when Emmett was taken and killed. So there's always a part of me in that Woodlawn area.
And you
And
might want to mention your daughter here, Ollie, whom we want to always remember.
yes, my daughter, Erica Gordon Taylor, she founded the Mamie Till Mobley Memorial Foundation. And I lost her at the onset of the virus in March 21st of 2020. So from that point on, I have been trying to continue her work. I found that I'm not real versed with technology, as to say. And even I look at what she did, and I'm going like, how did this girl, as sick as she was, most often from her hospital bed, how she started this foundation and moved it to the forefront.
And I want to say, if I may, please, Ollie, that you and your daughter are have laid a foundation. You do have other work that you're doing, but we are part of your network of Till family activities, and we want to recognize, as we just close out this evening, your role in the documentary, Let the World See. And all of us, we will be tuning into again, from 7 to 9 p.m. tonight, Women of the Movement, the film Jay-Z and Will Smith have produced. And then from 9 to 10, the documentary, Let the World See, that Jay-Z and Will Smith have produced. Can you tell us a word, Ollie, about your experience of the documentary? And again, we'll be meeting here every Thursday night, next Thursday, the 13th, and the final Thursday, January 20th, to be live with you pre-show to unpack and share this first-person testimony and the commitment that we have to interpret that for healing, for forgiveness, for justice. Ollie, tell us a little bit about the documentary, and then we will close tonight.
The documentary, I worked very closely as a consultant with the documentary. And what it does is it goes back, and it goes back from 1955 up to the current date. And also beyond that, actually, Emmett's birthplace. And they tell a story. They have many parents, not parents, but many of the family members or people that was eyewitnesses to the abduction of Emmett. And they talk to the family, and they find out the emotions of how we feel and what effect it has had on us throughout the years. So I think that they did a very positive story. I worked very close with making sure that they got artifacts, images,
and I'm sorry to snip you short, but we're right at the 7 o'clock hour. We don't want people to miss a minute of Women of the Movement. Iman Ali, Reiki master teacher, interpretive healer, our own West Woodlawn adoptee, Ollie Gordon, Till family cousin, Mr. Johnson, who was part of the saving of this story. These stories are so critically important, these serendipities that help us capture what becomes history. And we're looking at a murder, we're looking at a movement, we're looking at a museum, and we're thanking everyone for tuning in with us. Tune in with us next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. And let's all now tune in to Women of the Movement. Thank you. From the Green Living Room and the Green Economy Academy Media Studio, I'm Naomi Davis with Blacks and Green. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. 66 years ago today, in the wee hours of the morning, 14-year-old Emmett was kidnapped from the home of his aunt and uncle in Money, Mississippi. He was taken to a barn just outside of Drew, Mississippi, where he was beaten, tortured, and brutally murdered. by a group of white men.
I'm like fine wine with each line, getting better with time. Make you press rewind on each rhyme. Deuce, deuce, land, cruise on, producing land. I sat in heaven at once, so tell me who the man. Scratch that, yo, who the black guard? I drop diamonds on the verse, it's that hard from all the pressure. A quarter ticket ain't nothing special, I learned that. Being financially illiterate when I burnt that. See, all I ever wanted was to lift my mama's burden. How she non-stop working, and we non-stop hurting. Make it make sense. Shit, I couldn't myself. Started doing magic tricks with these cards I was dealt. Me and O ran it up, yo, we ran it up. Out of state, I'll be damned if I sell it to my people. My partner prayed to white Jesus and he died waiting. Now we pouring liquor on the curb like it's libations. Turn this up if you feel me. I must have made the ancestors proud, cause these crackers trying to kill me. And what I'm spitting, just a day in the life. It's too late for reparations, now you paying the price. Dear America.
3 days later, his body was found in the Tallahatchie River with a fan tied to it. And the only way that family members were able to recognize Emmett was due to a ring on his finger that belonged to his father, Louis Till.
And still, no justice for Emmett Till. You would call me a racist if I let you know how I feel. Keep it real. If I whistled at a Karen, would that justify them disfiguring my parents? Poor mammy had to die with the pain, living with regret for letting Emmett ride on that train. Almost 70 years later, facing problems the same, but nobody really dies unless you silence the name. Dear America.
We know that there is a trail of blood and trauma that leads from the Delta of Mississippi into the city of Chicago. And it is my belief that the current violence is a direct result of a generational trauma that has plagued our people for too long. Hi everyone, it's Aman Ali, Urban Zen Integrative Therapist, Reiki Master Teacher, and Ambassador for the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation. As Ambassador for the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation, it gives me great honor to continue the work of fighting for justice for Emmett. We are working very feverishly to get the passing of the bill, H.R. 55, the Emmett Louis Till Anti-Lynching.
That was a 14-year-old baby.
Say that again.
Took every part of his life. Took everything from him. His eyes, his ears, everything. What kind of human being do that to another human being? It made me think an animal caught a hold to the child instead of a human being. You took his eyes, you took his ears, and his mama let the world see how they did her baby. That is a hurtful thing in this world. But I ask God today that he stand with the Till family as well as he stand with the Aubrey family. That we get justice for these people that's killing our babies out here. Because we don't know what